They say world-class players shine under pressure. But what about the ones who shine and still get ignored? That someone is Raphinha. With 18 goals and 9 assists in La Liga, plus 13 goals and 8 assists in Europe, he's produced the most goal contributions by any Brazilian in a European season. But this isn't just about scoring. He's creating chances, unlocking defenses, and showing elite-level vision. So why aren't people talking about it? If you're tired of hearing only about the obvious stars, and you're ready to dive into the players who really run the game, stick around. Let's uncover the brilliance of Raphinha's season. There's no doubt Raphinha has just had the best season of his entire career and probably the best season any Brazilian attacker has ever had in European football. You could say this guy was the best player in the world last season and folks wouldn't look at you crazy seeing how he's got the numbers and performances to go with it. And you know what's crazy? He's done all of these while carrying the weight of doubt on his back. Now, in case you've forgotten, let me refresh your mind a little. Going into the 2024 to 2025 season, it looked like Raphinha was already halfway out the door, especially with the rumor that Barcelona was going all out for Nico Williams. But instead of sulking or disappearing, Raphinha responded the best way a player possibly can, on the pitch of play. Under Hansi Flick, the Brazilian didn't just do well last season, he thrived. From scoring goals in big games to having ice-cold clutch moments, Raphinha was at the heart of everything good for Barcelona. And it wasn't just his finishing that leveled up. The 28-year-old has also become something of a creative weapon. Nobody saw that coming, right? Well, if you know Raphinha's story, this won't surprise you. He's always had to fight to be seen. Born in Porto Alegre on December 14, 1996, and raised in Restinga, a rough favela on the outskirts of the city, Raphinha didn't come from privileged or polished academies. He came up through the mud. Raphinha's football story really started in Várzea tournaments. Those rough, community-run games where you had to be tough just to survive, let alone shine. We're talking matches on dusty clay fields in crazy heat, sometimes with gunshots going off nearby. Some teams didn't even have full kits, so they'd play shirtless. We're talking no refs, no rules, just raw football. That street-style football shaped who he is now. But even with all that, his journey wasn't smooth. Back home in Porto Alegre, the two biggest clubs, Grêmio and Internacional, both rejected him. The club said he was too skinny and not physical enough. It's the kind of thing that crushes a lot of young dreams. But somehow, he kept going. He finally got noticed by a smaller club called Imbituba, and from there he joined Avaí's U20 team in 2014. That felt like a step forward. But then, another setback came almost immediately. He got injured not long after arriving. And just like that, he was out. No matches, no proper training, nothing. He spent weeks on his own, watching others play while he trained solo on the sidelines. And to make things worse, this all happened when he was turning 18. No contract, no progress, stuck in a new city far from home. At that point, he really thought about quitting. But his mom stepped in and gave him the encouragement he needed. Well, it worked because Raphinha got back on his feet. And even though he never made a senior appearance for Avaí's first team, he didn't let that stop him. His big break came at the Copa São Paulo de Futebol Júnior, a massive U20 tournament in Brazil where scouts from all over came looking for the next big thing. And that's exactly where Deco, yes, the former Barcelona legend and current sporting director, spotted him. Something about Raphinha's game stood out. The speed, the confidence, the way he attacked defenders like they weren't even there. It didn't take long for Deco to make the move and sign him into his football agency. And just like that, Raphinha was headed to Europe, signing for Vitória de Guimarães in Portugal for around 600,000 euros. Not a big transfer fee, but a massive leap for a kid who almost quit the game 2 years earlier. And his adjustment to Europe? Fast. No drama, no excuses. He made his debut in March 2016, and by August, he had already scored his first goal against Marítimo. You could tell he wasn't just there to make up the numbers. He was hungry to prove something. Over the next 2 seasons, he became one of Vitória's standout players. In 65 league appearances, he scored 19 goals and added 7 assists, becoming a proper fan favorite. By 2017, he was named the club's Breakthrough Player of the Year. He wasn't just a project anymore. He was a problem. That kind of problem wasn't going to go unnoticed. And so in 2018, Sporting CP got Raphinha on board for 6.5 million euros. It was a step up, and Raphinha was ready for the challenge. Even though injuries popped up here and there and slowed his rhythm at times, his quality was clear from the start. In the 2018 to 2019 season, he scored 6 goals and added 4 assists in 28 league matches. But beyond the numbers, it was the big moments where he really came alive. He played a key role in Sporting's domestic cup double, lifting both the Taça de Portugal and the Taça da Liga. And if you watched the Taça da Liga final against Porto, you'd remember that ice-cold penalty he slotted home during the shootout. Pressure like that can break a lot of players, but not someone who grew up playing football with gunshots in the background and nothing but dreams to hold on to. That kind of nerve doesn't come from nowhere. It's forged in places like Raphinha. After 2 seasons at Sporting, winning it all alongside players like Bruno Fernandes, Raphinha started looking beyond Portugal. So when Stade Rennais came calling in 2019, offering a record €21 million to sign him, it was the perfect next chapter. In League One, Raphinha took another big leap. He looked sharper, more confident, and more complete. In just 1 season, he scored 8 goals and delivered 7 assists in 28 appearances, but more importantly, he helped Rennes finish 3rd in what was their best ever league position. That saw them qualify for the Champions League for the first time in their history. That alone should have been enough to get people talking. But just to make sure, Raphinha saved his best for last. In his final game for Rennes, he dropped a performance that looked like a highlight reel, scoring a goal and an assist against Reims, moving like a man who knew this was his send-off. That game felt less like a farewell and more like a warning shot to the rest of Europe. And sure enough, Premier League scouts were watching. That match didn't just close a chapter in France, it opened a whole new one in England. When Raphinha joined Leeds United on October 5, 2020 for £17 million, it didn't exactly make headlines. Despite everything he'd done in Portugal and France, most fans weren't buzzing about the signing. Some hadn't even heard of him. And honestly, it made sense. Leeds were just back in the Premier League after a long time, and people were more focused on survival than surprises. But that was about to change. Fast. Raphinha didn't come in like a star. He came in like a worker. But once he hit the pitch, it was clear. This wasn't just another signing. He became the face of everything Marcelo Bielsa stood for. Fearless, hardworking, unselfish. He fit that Leeds team like he'd been made for it. Under Bielsa's high-pressing system, Raphinha's game reached another level. The raw talent was there. The silky footwork, the quick turns, the pace. But now it was backed by structure. He learned how to press, how to track back, how to fight for 90 minutes. He wasn't just an exciting winger anymore. He was a complete Premier League threat. That balance is what made him stand out in the Premier League. He wasn't just showboating and cutting inside. He was putting in the dirty work too. In fact, during the 2021-22 season, he ranked in the top 10 among forwards for tackles and interceptions per 90 minutes, which is not something you usually hear about a player with such flair. But let's not get it twisted. It's his skill with the ball that really made Europe take notice. Raphinha is the kind of player who brings people out of their seats. His close control is ridiculous, the kind that looks glued to his foot. The way he shifts his body, cuts inside, or glides past defenders gives strong Riyad Mahrez vibes. He's heavily left-footed, sure, but he's not one-dimensional. If you try to block him from cutting in, he'll just take it down the line on his right. And once he gets going, defenders don't have many answers. On top of that, his versatility made him even more valuable. He could play on either wing, drift inside as a 10, or even help out centrally when needed. No matter where he was, he caused problems. And then came the real test. When Leeds found themselves locked in a relegation battle during the 2021-22 season, Raphinha stepped up and became the heartbeat of the team. He put in 11 crucial league goals, including a high-pressure penalty against Brentford on the final day. Raphinha ended his time at Elland Road with 17 goals and 12 assists in 65 appearances. But numbers don't tell the whole story. He left as a fan favorite, a symbol of everything the club had fought for during those 2 chaotic years back in the top flight. It's nice to see you're still locked in on the Raphinha story. But before we continue, how about you hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't already? Done that? Cool. Let's get back into it. Barcelona came calling in the summer of 2022. And for Raphinha, it was more than just a transfer. It was a dream come true. The kid from Raphinha had made it to Camp Nou. But dreams, as we know, don't always play out perfectly right away. He arrived for €58 million, brought in to replace Ousmane Dembele. And that kind of price tag comes with weight. Expectations were high, but under Xavi Hernandez, things didn't quite click. Raphinha struggled for rhythm, starting just 42 of his first 76 games, and was often played out of position, sometimes wide left, sometimes as an interior. It was hard to build momentum with the constant tactical shuffling. And it wasn't just about football either. Barca's financial problems cast a shadow over everything. In the summer of 2024, there were serious talks about selling Raphinha, not because they didn't rate him, but because they needed the money. Imagine hearing you might have to leave, not for form or performance, but for the balance sheet. But that's when everything flipped. Hansi Flick stepped in as manager, and with him came a whole new perspective. The German manager didn't just tweak Raphinha's role, he reinvented him. Under Hansi Flick, the days of hugging the touchline were over. Instead, Raphinha was turned into a hybrid playmaker, given something every creative player dreams of, a free role. Flick's 4-2-3-1 system wasn't rigid. It allowed movement, creativity, and instinct to take over. And for someone like Raphinha, who sees spaces before others do, it was the perfect playground. Now, he wasn't just staying wide and whipping in crosses. He was told to drift inside, to roam into central zones, to make late runs into the box. He became less of a winger and more of a goal-scoring playmaker. 11.9% of his touches in the 2024-25 season have come inside the opposition box, making it the highest rate he's ever had in La Liga. That's not just a winger waiting for service anymore. That's a player invading dangerous areas, arriving late like Thomas Müller, popping up in moments when defenders least expect him. Raphinha has become something of a de facto number 10, making him Barcelona's primary architect in the final third. This responsibility isn't just talk, it's backed up by numbers. Raphinha finished the 2024-25 season as the top chance creator across Europe's top 5 leagues, with 39 key passes to his name. That's not just impressive, it's elite. But Flick didn't just lean on his creativity. He used Raphinha's relentlessness and almost furious energy as part of the team's identity. His pressing wasn't simply a defensive requirement, it was the trigger. He became the spark in Barcelona's aggressive counter-press, a system designed to suffocate teams the second they lost possession. With a league-low 8.7 passes per defensive action, Barcelona didn't just defend, they swarmed, hunted, and flipped defense into attack within seconds. And more often than not, Raphinha was leading the charge. And then there's the output. The numbers are staggering. 48 direct goal contributions in just 40 appearances across all competitions. 28 goals, 20 assists. That's not a hot streak. That's not just form. That's world-class consistency. And you know what? This output alone surpasses the combined total from his first 2 seasons at the Camp Nou. His creative influence has grown just as dramatically. Raphinha now averages 3.5 key passes per 90 minutes, placing him among Europe's elite creators. While his actual assist numbers saw a slight dip at one point, partly down to teammates not finishing chances, the underlying stats tell the full story. His expected assists rose by 30%, a clear sign that his vision, timing, and execution have reached a completely new level. And when it comes to goal threat, he's just as dangerous. Raphinha ranked 3rd in La Liga for both total shots and shots on target last season, but the most eye-catching stat is his ruthlessness in the Champions League. A 40% conversion rate, up from the 28% he managed under Xavi. That kind of efficiency isn't just improvement, it's evolution. This new version of Raphinha operates in 2 distinct and devastating ways. The first is vertical playmaking. He drives straight through midfield with the ball at his feet, pulling defenders out of shape and forcing reactions. Then, at just the right moment, he releases perfectly weighted passes into space for Lewandowski and Lamine Yamal, turning defense into chance in a heartbeat. It's no surprise he now ranks 5th in La Liga for carries into the penalty area. The second is what makes him truly unpredictable: spiral disruption. Raphinha's clever rotations into central areas pull defenders with him, fracturing compact lines and leaving just enough room for someone else to do damage. It creates exactly the kind of gaps that players like Yamal with his quick feet and direct dribble thrive on. A perfect example came in the match against Alaves. Raphinha drifted off his wide position, moved infield, and dragged 2 defenders with him. Then, with one touch, he slipped a disguised pass behind them, right into the space he had just cleared. Lewandowski ran into it and finished the move. But it was Raphinha who created it from nothing, using pure intelligence and timing. This isn't the same Raphinha we saw 2 years ago. This is a leader, a playmaker, and one of the most complete attacking players in the game right now. Raphinha's 2024-25 campaign isn't just productive, it's historic. The kind of season that doesn't just win trophies, but carves out legacy. 19 goal contributions in a single Champions League campaign. He matched a record that once seemed untouchable, scoring 12 goals and creating 7 assists, tying the mark set by none other than Lionel Messi. But it didn't stop there. Raphinha became the first Barcelona player since Luis Suarez in 2015-16 to record a double-double, 20-plus goals and 20-plus assists across all competitions. And when you line him up against the Brazilian legends who've worn the Blaugrana shirt before him, the story gets even more surreal. Raphinha has already surpassed the combined goal contributions of Romario and Ronaldo Nazario during their time at the club. Let that sink in. And perhaps most importantly, he shows up when it matters most. If you're still overlooking him, maybe it's time to take a second look. Because this version of Raphinha is not just writing his best chapter, he's writing one of Barcelona's greatest modern stories. If you've made it all the way to the end, you're the real MVP. Seriously, thanks for sticking around. Now, I've got 2 questions for you. Has Raphinha done enough to get a legendary status at Barcelona? And would you say he's the most underrated footballer on the planet at this point? Drop your answers in the comments. I'll be checking them out. Before you bounce, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a drop. And don't go too far. Click on the next video and keep the momentum going. Trust me, you won't want to miss it. See you in the next one.